Okay, just a quick review of how we can find the shifts of sine and cosine, and then talk about kind of all the parts of a transformed sine and cosine wave. So if you have a function sine with some a out front, bx minus c plus d, this is the traditional way we found period and amplitude. So remember, the period is going to be 2 pi divided by b. B is the number in front of x in the parenthesis. The amplitude is the absolute value of a. This is stuff I did last section. Now the phase shift is going to be c over b. Now c is the number after the negative sign, so it's always the opposite. So if it's a plus in there, it's going to be to the left, and if it's a minus, it's going to be to the right. And then the vertical shift is just what comes at the end, d. So if you look at this example below is very similar to this. So the period is simply going to be 2 pi divided by 4, this 4 right here. 2 pi over 4 is pi over 2. The amplitude is the absolute value of the number in front, so it's the absolute value of negative 8, which is simply 8. The phase shift is going to be pi over 4. And again, it's a minus, so it's going to go right. So it's this pi divided by the b, which is 4. The vertical shift is 2. It would be up 2, added 2, because that's what's added at the end. And then is it reflected? I would say it is. And that's because the 8 is negative in front. Okay? So these are just kind of using these formulas to find the different shifts and such. And then you can apply these to graph your function. Now there is a slightly different way that I could write this function, so I decided that I would go ahead and put that on here for you. So one thing I could do is on the left one, I have bx minus c in the parenthesis. What I can do is I could factor I could factor that b out. So what you see I did here is I factored the b out, so we just have the x minus some shift inside. Now you could have it written, everything else still works pretty much the same. It's 2 pi over b for the period. The amplitude is still absolute value of a. But the nice thing is your phase shift, if you factor it out, your phase shift is already taken care of. It's still this c over b, but now c over b is by itself in the parentheses. Then the vertical shift is d. So if it's factored out like that, you don't have to do c over b because it's already done for you. So the example is this one here where we have 2 pi divided by 2 because there's our b in this case, so that's pi. Amplitude is 1/2 because it's the number in front and it's already positive, so no worries there. So now the cool thing about the phase shift is since it's factored, this is just the phase shift, it's just pi. It's moving pi units to the right, and that's because it's negative. If this was positive, then this would become negative. But it is negative, so that's why it's positive. Vertical shift is down 3 or negative 3. And this one is not reflected because there is no negative in front. So that's just a couple of ways to get the different properties of your sine and cosine graph, and then we'll work on more of trying to sketch these on paper.